out, you know, their works and so on and so forth. People identifying with the country that for, even though, like I said earlier, enormous challenges. And then I have not seen protests around this area, but I've been following issues on X, I mean, former Twitter, that there is a planned protest across the country today. But at this moment, I have not seen physically. But perhaps it's just the beginning of the day. We might get to see or hear that later. But at the moment, like it's just a mix of both. I have few people wearing national colors, carrying out their daily works and so on and so forth. Yeah.
All right. So if you listen to my intro, we had talked about how years after gaining independence from colonial rule, Nigeria became Africa's largest economy. But this year, Nigeria dropped from number 1 to number 4 after South Africa, Egypt, and Algeria. Can you beat that? How does this hit you, though? This information that South Africa now is Africa's largest economy, and Nigeria, big brother Nigeria, the giant of Africa, is way, way behind South Africa. What's your take?
I don't think it's a big surprise, seriously, because this is my opinion. For me, I believe over the years, particularly this new administration, have been panning towards the advice of the IMF and the World Bank. What do I mean? Take off subsidy totally, float the naira, which in other words means devaluation of the currency. We've seen this before during the military administration of Ibrahim Babangida. When he introduced the Structural Adjustment Program, SAP, total devaluation of the country's currency. But in these cases, even in this case, I mean, this present administration, the case is even extreme because you have devaluation of the currency. At the same time, you have total removal of subsidy from the most important commodity of the nation, which is petrol. You understand? So you have it hitting the economy in both ways. Foreign exchange is skyrocketing, and then people's purchasing power has drastically dropped. In fact, if you want to gauge it from 100 to from 100, people's purchasing power has dropped to below 50%. Seriously. Because for what we used to buy perhaps 100 naira before is now 300 to 500 to even 1,000. So these are the major reasons why you have our economy in shambles. You have the GDP dropping, you have large-scale unproductivity, because the things we need, power, we don't have. We generate our own energy by generators and so on and so forth. Things you need to power those generators is sold per liter now for 1,000 plus in most parts of Nigeria. Most companies are folding up, retrenching workers and so on and so forth. So purchasing power is gone. Definitely, it will affect, the GDP, and that's why Nigeria has drastically dropped from first to fourth. But if you allow me, in my own thinking, I don't even think, yes, this is a big problem, perfect. But for me, the biggest problem I have seen Nigeria succumb to in the past 54 years is the fact that our social fabric as a nation, as a people, is gone. The unity that is very, very germane to development is almost totally gone in Nigeria. If you are a regular participant, if you are a regular follower of X, formerly Twitter, you shed tears for this country. The country is almost 100% polarized along ethnic and religious lines. People say something on Twitter, because you are Yoruba, because you are Igbo, because you are Hausa. Nobody thinks of Nigeria anymore. And it's so disheartening. Seriously, as a country, if we don't checkmate this, we're actually heading for the rocks. Because there is no way we want to talk about development as a country when we are so disunited. Seriously. And I don't blame anybody anyway. This issue of disunity is as a result of the failure of leadership, lack of no confidence on leadership. The leaders say something, they say A, they actually mean Z. When they say Z, they actually mean A. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So the few people that tend to defend them, people see them as, because he's from your own area or because he is from your ethnic background and so on. That's why you are blatantly defending lies, So we need to correct this as a nation. And I know we have organizations, parastatals like the National Orientation Agency have been sitting down for so many years that they've been established doing virtually nothing. Nobody seems to understand any value about the country anymore. Nobody knows, where the country is going the next minute and so on and so forth. Even government policies, are not well interpreted for the masses to follow, So it's that the challenges, that's why I keep saying, is so enormous, that we need to sit as a people and design the nearest and the farthest future. Else, I'm afraid we are heading for the rocks as a country.
There's something you said I want us to probe further. You said this administration, not just this administration, successful leaders have always pandered to the voice of international bodies like the IMF. Let's juxtapose that to today's celebration, independence from colonial rule. Do you think Nigeria is truly independent? Do you think they are being pulled by some puppet strings, really, subtly, without Africans and Nigeria in particular knowing? Are we truly independent?
Now, it's a very tricky question. If you talk about independence on the surface, yes, it's been signed, 1960, Nigeria is independent, yes. But if you look at it critically as well, you will know that we are not that independent because a lot of things, and we played ourselves as a country into this particular situation. For instance, for almost 60 years or more, in fact, the past 30 years, Nigeria's NNPC controlling 4 refineries never refined a single drop of petrol. What we do is take up dig up our crude, sell it at the international market, then import refined crude from wherever, from Malta, from Singapore, from US, from wherever. Just challenge it. And remember, Nigeria is a monocultural economy. When you do this, it means you are placing, in fact, your entire country in the hands of outsiders, in the hands of foreigners. Remember, we still import toothpick. Shocking. We import what we eat.
Toothpick, for crying out loud.
Yes, we import virtually everything. You understand? And then, unfortunately, we have this penchant for luxury that we are even unable to purchase because we are so poor as a country, I must confess. You understand? The very little that we have, we are so so used to using on spending on luxurious goods that we don't produce, that we import, whether it's cars, whether it's furnitures and so on and so forth. So all these things, because at least 80 to 90% dependent as a country dependent on importation, you are placing your entire country, your entire people at the mercy of foreigners. You understand? So we are not truly independent. Our foreign policies and so on and so forth. So because of this situation, and because we need, like I said earlier, if you look at our successive budget for over 20, 30 years, it's been budget deficit. We borrow to finance our budget. You understand? And where do you borrow all this money? From the Paris Club, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and so. So these guys dictate to you. They say he who dictates whatsoever he who pays the piper dictates the
The
tune.
tune, yeah.
Yes. So these guys give you money, but they give you stringent conditions. Okay, you must do this, you must do that, you must do that. Because you are so, we are gluttonous. We want to get that. We say, okay, at least 70 to 80% of these stringent rules we follow. And one of the major rules is that you must devalue your currency, take out a lot of subsidies from things that the masses enjoy, electricity, energy, and so on and so forth. You know, so we are not truly independent because we are so dependent on this foreign aid.
That's
in this age.
That's an irony, isn't it? You know, yeah, it is really. In fact, Nigeria is going to be collecting some really big loan. You know, one of these international bodies just approved a huge amount for Nigeria. So it begs the question, how long will this go on? But let's flip the coin a little bit before we go on the short break, yeah? Nigeria has enjoyed over 2 decades of uninterrupted democratic rule. That's something to celebrate. Wouldn't you say it calls for celebration?
It is. It is because at least you and I are freely expressing our opinion. In fact, that is the biggest dividend of democracy.
Yeah.
The fact that, yes, you can freely express your opinion without the fear and so on and so forth. So it calls for that. But again, beyond that, our leaders and Nigerians in general must understand that dividend of democracy is not just about the practice of democracy in itself. You understand? Work must be done. We can't just keep saying we are no longer a nascent democracy. It's 20-something years, like you mentioned. This is about 22 years, or sorry, how many years now? 1999?
Since 25 years now. Since 1999, yes.
Yes. So we can't, continue saying, okay, since we are practicing democracy, that is it. No. Yes, we are practicing democracy for the past 25 years. It's fine. But democracy in itself is not an achievement. We must work. We must work within the confines of democracy to provide dividends for the people and the entire country. And this calls into question the leaders first and then the followers. You understand? Because it's not just the leaders alone. We ourselves, as even Nigerians, for crying out loud, President Tinubu is not from Togo. He's not from Ghana. He's a Nigerian. The other people ruling Nigeria, perhaps before him, Buhari, Jonathan, and co, were not from other countries. They are Nigerians. So they were citizens first before becoming leaders. So we must repair, our intentions. We must be intentional about what we want for ourselves as a country, from the citizen level and then to the leadership level, before we start celebrating the fact that, yes, we are celebrating democracy for the past 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, but perhaps in the next 20, 30 years, are we just going to say, okay, because we are celebrating democracy, that's just it? What are the pinpoint dividends, achievement of democracy in Nigeria? You understand? These are things that we must begin to ask.
That's $1 billion question, right? So we'll take a short break. When we come back, the discussion continues. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Foment. Foment. Foment.
High Impact Radio, 102.1 FM. The future is now. High Impact Radio, 102.1 FM. The future is now.
Get ready to dive into the heart of action. Welcome to Sport Hub, where passion is unparalleled excitement.
High Impact Radio, 102.1 FM. The future is now.
Get set for the adrenaline rush of a lifetime as we bring to you the hottest highlight, the biggest stories, interviews, and the most thrilling moments from the world of sport. No matter what your favorite sport is, we've got you covered. From football to basketball.
The show is on record where every word matters. My name is Vivian Oguchi, and I got to say thank you for chilling with me this beautiful day of October, actually. Right now, I'm being joined by legal practitioner Tunji Abdulhamid. He's also a public affairs analyst. Barrister, it's such a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
Sylvia, good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Yes, happy Independence Day.
Answer now. You are putting me in a difficult position because I'm not sure whether we're independent.
Wow. You
Happy celebration. Yeah, I will have prepared that.
Do you know you are re-echoing what, your predecessor on this show just said? I've been talking to Mohammed Abdullahi, a public affairs analyst, and he says Nigeria is not truly independent. And you're saying the same thing. So let me put this question to you. 64 years on, how far so far?
How far so far? I think, let me put it this way too. When you have a baby born 64 years ago, and it took crawling, what do you say?
Stunted growth.
So you said there's a problem. It's not growing. That is the point. There's a problem somewhere. Because a 64 years old boy who is still crawling, who should be a grandpa or should be moving towards the end of his life, is still crawling. So you cannot say that that particular person has developed or has grown. There's a problem. So Nigeria is a country where we have independent on paper, but becoming our own. They have been discharged from the British colonial masters. But we have not been, that colonialism or that has been transferred to our people, Nigerians who have the privilege or opportunity of taking over the power in place of the colonial masters. So we are still under colonialism, the local colonialism.
Now, let me have you respond to some of the things Mohammed has said earlier on. He said that Nigeria, who used to be Africa's largest economy, had dropped to number 4, and that this was no surprise because of the policy somersault and the bad implementation by successive governments. Do you think this is truly the reason why we are no longer number 1 when it comes to the economy on the continent?
Yeah, to an extent, I agree. I will also add that, look, it's not only policies or hazards. Lack of policy or lack of following up on the policy as well is a grant. And the lack of a sincere will to develop the country. We have people in charge of this country who have been privileged to be part of the to be leadership, who are majorly concerned about their personal life, who are majorly thinking about how to acquire more weight, the weight that they don't even need. We have people who are privileged to be in power, who are not thinking about the United of Nigerians, who are just planning and making policies based on their own personal interests. So for me, the policy, if we talk about policies in Nigeria, and that's why I say to an extent, we have a very, very beautiful policies. a policy that, if implemented in certain countries, they will become something else in terms of development. But those policies in Nigeria remains only on paper, and there won't be any implementation or enforcement. When it comes to enforcement or implementation, it becomes a different thing. So we have been having people who are not sincerely or genuinely interested in development of the country. They are only concerned about grabbing power or becoming relevant in the scheme of Nigerian state.
And that's very unfortunate. Now, we also talked about how Nigeria has achieved 25 years of uninterrupted democratic rule in the country. And, Mohammed, before you had said, yeah, but it's good. It's a good thing. But where are the dividends of democracy? Let me draw your attention back to what former President Olusegun Obasanjo said some months ago, that democracy has failed Nigeria, and he's calling for Afro-democracy. Do you think that's what Nigeria needs right now? Afro-democracy?
Firstly, let me first of all tell you that my own opinion, I don't believe we have democracy in Nigeria.
Oh.
We don't have democracy. We have civilian rules. So there is a difference between democracy and civilian rules. Democracy, as defined generally, the definition of democracy: government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
All right, let me quickly pick this call. I'll get back to you. Thank you. All right, good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Odibashi.
Oh, yes, Mr. Odibashi, thank you so much for calling in this morning. Happy Independence